Dear students, in this module, I will be giving you the demonstration on the data requirement to test the sign test in SPSS. So how to enter the data, what type of variable we are going to take. So for that, I'll be discussing an example, and for that very example, I would be giving you the demonstration that what type of variable and what type of data entry we would be required to enter this data into SPSS. Students, I am going to read the problem for you. The problem is about the endurance scores of animal during a 48-hour session of discrimination responses are recorded. The median scores for animals with electrodes implanted in the hypothalamus were 97.5. Suppose that the experiment was duplicated in other laboratory except that electrodes were implanted in the forebrain of 12 animals. Use the sign test to see whether the investigator may conclude at 0.05 level of significance that the median endurance score of animals with electrodes implanted in the forebrain is less than 97.5. Now students, we have already taken up this example and we have performed the sign test to see the results, that whether to reject or accept this null hypothesis, but we have already done it manually using the z-test. Now we are going to follow this same example into SPSS. But before that, we need to see that how to enter the data into SPSS so that we can follow this example onto SPSS. So students, this is the interface of the SPSS window. Now, if you remember that in an SPSS window, if you just look at the left bottom, there are two buttons. One is the data view and other is the variable view. So you are required to click on to the variable view. So once you will click that, this window will appear before you. So the first thing you would have to do is to type the name of the variable. So as the problem we were discussing, there we have found out that we were talking about the scores. So I just take on the score variable as the name of the variable. Now the next thing you would have to do is to select the type of the data. So usually it is being taken as numeric, and the default setting for the in the SPSS is also numeric. So the next thing you would have to consider is the measurement. So students, measurement for this particular score variable would be scale. Why? Because score variable is a quantitative variable. So whenever the variable is quantitative, the measurement will be taken as scale. Now, once we are done with the definition of the scores variable, which we are going to consider for the sign test, the next thing we would have to do is that we will have to click onto the data view. And there, under the data view window, we will have to actually enter the data that is being given to us. So students, this is the interface of the data view. अब आप देखिए यहाँ पे score variable is appearing, which we have defined under the variable view. The next thing you would have to do is students कि आपने data entry करनी है. The first observation we have had was 93.6. The next one is 89.1. Then the next one is 97.7. And so on. We keep on entering the observations, and finally we have entered the last observation, the 12th one, as 82.6. So this is the requirement to follow the variable or to define the data under the variable to which we are going to test under the sign test using the SPSS.